Hey guys, welcome to another one of my Salem videos, and before I get started, remember, if you'd like to support the channel and also support the game, check out the referral link down in the description box down below, and well, you know how that works. Anyway, in this video, we're going to be talking about improving your equipment and artificing and slotting and all these weird things, which actually it's very interesting and quite easy to do early on in the game, although it gets very deep and a lot more complex as we go along. But I'm going to introduce to you the basics, so at least you guys can get started first of all. Anyway, you might notice that I'm wearing a few extra things today, and in this video it's going to be talking about improving the stuff that's on you, what you're wearing and things like that. So you can see I've got some kind of backpack, and I've also got some sort of something that looks like a loincloth around my waist there, but it's not a loincloth. If I press Control E here, we can see I've got this bark pack and a novice tool belt, and I'm going to be going into some of these details so you can see my cotton shirt is not just a cotton shirt. There's some plus symbols on there as well. Same with my jute pants. It's got some plus symbols as well. And this is how you can sort of min-max your character and min-max your outfits and have multiple different outfits to have different sorts of bonuses. So I'm not going to go over every single bonus out there because it'll take way too long. There's a wiki page for that, but I'm going to show you the essentials of this sort of stuff. It's called Artificing, or basically you're slotting special items into your clothes. But first, let's do some improvements because it's about time we got some of this equipment on us. I'm going to start with the bark pack here. Now the bark pack basically adds more inventory space. If I right click the bark pack in my equipment menu here, you can see it opens up another window, and I'm carrying all this stuff with me, and it's not in my main inventory. And not just that, anything you put inside the bark pack, its weight is reduced by 30%. So you can put some pretty heavy stuff in there, like pots of water and stuff like that, or buckets of water even, and you get to carry it around much more efficiently. So how do you make a bark pack? Well, we got to start collecting some bark. And on a couple trees out here, I'm just going to go and look at this one over here. We can go ahead and well, I've already collected bark from that one. Let's step outside my base here. There's a similar tree right here, and I'm going to peel the bark off of this tree here. I just right click it, peel bark, and it's gonna start giving you bark. See, I get birch bark from this. You can also get willow bark, but I'm gonna be using birch bark for now because it's what's available. Now let's close our gates, remember to do that. And you basically have to turn this birch bark into dried bark, which I have one in my inventory, because if we go to craft, clothes and equipment, bark pack, you're going to see it requires 5 dried bark and 2 fiber. And by now you should know how to get fiber. You can either use, you can see here, you could use abandoned cobwebs, you can use raw cotton, or you can go ahead and make milkweed jute or something like that. But the dried bark is slightly different. So in earlier episodes, you might have seen a clay pot over my fireplace, and I have a clay pot here, and basically you have to boil the birch bark until it becomes sort of soaked bark, and that soaked bark can be dried on a drying frame like this one right here. So to make a clay pot, again, it's quite straightforward. I'm going to craft, and I think it's under tools, pots and pans, and it's clay pot right next to the gardening pot. And clay pot here, it just takes 5 clay into an unburnt clay pot, and then you can stick it in a kiln just like the gardening pots, and it'll become a clay pot. You just fire it inside the kiln, and you can even fire clay pots over a fireplace, though it does have a chance of breaking and shattering. So be careful about that. But if you have a kiln, go ahead. But if not, you just get 5 pieces of clay. You know how to do that from the gardening episode, and you can then make this clay pot. Now the clay pot needs to be filled with water. You can't just put stuff in it and then fire it. That's going to be bad for anything. If any of you know any sort of cooking, that you'd know that's not going to work. So you can bring the clay pot over to a river and fill it with water, just right-clicking on the water. Be careful not to drop the pot in the water by misclicking. But if you already have a bucket of water on you, you can just left-click the bucket of water, right-click on the clay pot, and you can see here the clay pot now has 5 liters of water. And now I can left click the clay pot and right click on my fireplace. There we go. And now we have this clay pot here. So if I right click the clay pot now, I can open or take it. So I'm going to open it, and of course it's empty, but you can see this blue bar on the right side. That shows that it's filled with water. And inside there we can go ahead and put our birch bark. And of course, nothing's happening right now. We've got to fire the thing. So let me just go ahead and set my fire here. Gonna grab a bunch of branches. We don't need too many. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 branches should do. So let's go ahead and shift click the bunch of branches onto the fireplace here. And there we go. Just get all the branches on there. And come on. Well, I suppose that'll do for now. Okay, so then let's light the fire. So we're gonna use a tinder drill here. You know how a tinder drill works. Lighting the fire. And then once the fire is lit, it's gonna boil whatever's inside the clay pot here. So if you open up if you right click the clay pot now, it opens up straight away because there's stuff inside it. And basically you just have to wait until this birch bark becomes soaked bark. And then once that happens, you can take the soaked bark and just put it on the drying frame like you would do any sort of skin and wait for it to dry. So it does take a little while, but eventually you'll get all the dried bark and you can go ahead and craft yourself a bark pack. Now, the next thing I'm wearing here is a novice tool belt. Now, a novice tool belt is very, very handy. A lot of times in the earlier videos, you might have noticed I had to keep swapping my shovel with my axe, but you might notice, where's my axe? Where's my saw for chopping planks of wood? Well, if I right-click my novice tool belt, it's got 2 slots in it. A stone saw and my axe are inside my novice tool belt. And what this does is that anything inside the novice tool belt and what's in my hand will automatically swap if the task I'm doing requires it. So for example, if I right click on my sawbuck and I click make boards, it will automatically equip, if you see here, it automatically equipped my stone saw. If I right click on this tree and click chop, it will automatically equip my axe. So there's no more swapping between, manual swapping between all these tools. And it also clears up some inventory space as well. So right now I have this, my axe, my stone saw, and my wooden shovel all in loop here. And these are my 3 most used tools right now. So it's very, very handy. And to make a novice tool belt, it's super simple. I'm gonna go to craft, clothes and equipment, belts and sashes, and you can see there's a snakeskin belt, but I'm gonna look at this novice tool belt, and it just takes 1 fiber, you know how to do that, and 2 myrtle oak leaves. And myrtle oak bushes look just like this. You find them around Providence, the main city actually. You just sort of right click and you can pick leaves, and you can go ahead and help yourself to as many as you like, because I think there's no limit to how many myrtle oak leaves you can pick from one of those bushes. So I just happened to have dug one up and brought it to my base here for convenience. And then you can just go ahead and craft a novice tool belt. So that's very, very useful again. So now, on to the more complicated stuff, the artificing stuff, the real sort of improving your clothes to beyond clothes. Because if you didn't know, there's no real benefit to just wearing clothes. Like I got these snakeskin boots. I made them because I had a couple snakeskins, and it doesn't do anything. I mean, there's no benefit to actually wearing shoes, not right now anyway. But if I mouse over snakeskin boots and wait, it says Artificer's slots, difficulty 23, and it says unused slot. And that means that you can put something into it to give yourself a bonus. And the difficulty is relevant. 25 is the highest as far as I know on these clothing items. And you can see on my jute pants, the difficulty is 19. So these sorts of things, you can put things in. And of course, more advanced items, let's just look at the Feather of the Brave here. There are 5 unused slots in that, just built into that. Whereas the cotton shirt only has 1 slot, the snakeskin boots only 1. These low-level things only have 1 slot to fit something in. Now, what kind of things can you put in to your clothes? Well, here I've got a few things on me. So first of all, if you mouse over some items, you'll see the bonuses. So I'm gonna mouse over the smooth stone here, and it actually says at the top, just underneath the ether, difficulty, when slotted, difficulty 10 to 0, and it's got 2 symbols. Those symbols are your proficiencies. If you look at your skills tab, you can see there's a symbol for all these proficiencies on the left. So if I mouse over the smooth stone, it shows those two symbols there. Those are the proficiencies that are attuned to this item or this artifice. And it shows when it's slotted, it's going to give +1 to piercing power, +3 to blunt power, and +1 to impact power. Here's another item you can slot in. Abandoned Cobweb, difficulty 20 to 5, and the symbols are stocks and cultivars and thread and needle. And it says common combat defense +3, productivity +4, and weaving +12. And again, here's another one. Indian Arrowhead, difficulty 10 to 0, and the symbols are herbs and sprouts and thread and needle. And it gives rummaging, common combat defense, productivity, and soil digging. So quite a few things there, but in different amounts. So these bonuses can be attached to your clothes, and when you wear it, you'll get those bonuses. So for example, certain things, for example, soil digging, actually makes you dig up soil faster. And common combat defense reduces all incoming damage. Weaving, for example, will reduce the amount of cotton it takes to make cloth. So that's very, very useful if you're doing a lot of cotton planting. And things like piercing power, blunt power, impact power, those increase the damage of certain attacks. So, as you can imagine, doing this is very, very useful, and if you have high-level items with high-level things slotted into them, you can be even more powerful than just your biles. So this is how you slot something in. So for example, I have these snakeskin boots, but let's say I want to slot another abandoned cobweb. I've got 2 abandoned cobwebs slotted in already, in my cotton shirt and my jute pants, because this is sort of my farming attire, and I do a lot of farming, especially with cotton. So the weaving bonus from abandoned cobwebs +12 is very useful for that. But let's say I don't want to put a weaving bonus on my snakeskin boots. Let's say I just don't feel like snakeskin boots are really the sort of thing that you should be wearing when farming. So I'd like to create another item. So I'm going to go ahead and craft a new piece of item, a new piece of clothing here under capes and cloaks, because I still have an empty slot for that. And you might notice I have these 8 rabbit skins here. So I'm going to craft myself a rabbit skin cape. And it takes 8 rabbit skins. So let's go ahead and craft that. There we go, crafting away, and I have a rabbit skin cape, which I can now put on to myself, and I have a bit of a cape there. Look at that. It sort of goes through my backpack. Looks kind of weird there, but there we go. I have a cape on myself. So now that I've crafted that, let's say I want to slot something into this. Now, what should I slot the abandoned cobweb in for my weaving bonus, or should I slot in something else? I think the abandoned cobweb will do fine for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put an abandoned cobweb into the rabbit skin cape. Now, you can see my rabbit skin cape says difficulty 24. Now, the difficulty, the lower the number, the better. So on the clothes themselves, it has sort of a base difficulty. And when I made this cotton shirt, it was a while ago, and it says difficulty 25. And this rabbit skin cape says 24. My snakeskin boots says 23. So different items sort of say different things. But in order to reduce the difficulty of your clothes, you need to boost your thread and needle. And there's no limit to how much it can be reduced, but you can send your thread and needle into the hundreds and still get benefits in this. So my rabbit skin cape says difficulty 24. Now, looking at the abandoned cobweb, it says difficulty 20 to 5, and then 2 proficiency symbols next to it, which is stocks and cultivars and thread and needle. So in order to reduce the difficulty of slotting this item, you need to increase the proficiencies in those things. So for example, if I want a better chance of slotting this item, I need to increase my stocks and cultivars and thread and needle. If I was slotting the smooth stone instead, I would need to increase my cloak and dagger and my mines and mountains, because this object attunes to different proficiencies. So an artificer, a professional artificer, needs to increase all of his proficiencies, or his or her proficiencies, to much higher levels to increase success. Now, how do we slot something in? Well, the difficulty, this chance, is a big deal, because this unused slot if the slotting fails, that slot is broken. And that's a risk you sort of have to take. So this is a low-level item, and this is a low-level artifice I'm gonna slot into my piece of low-level clothing here. So even if it doesn't work out, it's gonna be okay. Making another rabbit skin cape is no big deal. So I'm gonna pick up the abandoned cobweb, and I'm going to right-click onto my rabbit skin cape. And it's actually gonna show you a percentage chance. In this case, it's 65% chance. It's reduced 24% just by the rabbit skin cape difficulty, which is 24. And then it's reduced further by the difficulty of the object itself. But 65% chance, it's not optimal. You sort of want to raise this as much as possible, but in this case we're going to take a chance and see if it works or not. So let's go ahead and slot this in, 65% chance. And will it work? Will it work? And it worked! There we go! The abandoned cobweb is slotted into the rabbit skin cape. So right now I have 3 abandoned cobwebs slotted in. So technically I have +9 common combat defense, +12 productivity, and +36 weaving. So wearing these 3 items is going to boost my farming quite a bit, and it actually gives me some defense in case I want to go hunting or something like that. So these benefits are very good, but the idea is to have multiple outfits. You want to have a combat outfit where you're focusing on attack damage and defense. You want to have if you do a lot of soil digging for clay making, you might want to have some soil digging for example, on the smooth stone, I think we got... No, on the Indian arrowhead, you had soil digging. You might want to slot a lot of those into different items and change your clothes based on the task you are currently working on. So that's basically it. What you need to know for now. Be careful about working with high-level items and difficult to use artifices, but in general you should start practicing now. Try slotting a smooth stone into a basic cotton shirt, or an Indian arrowhead into some jute pants, some easy low-level stuff, just so you get to experience this sort of slotting and improving your skills and improving your stats, that sort of thing. So, hope this helped you out. Remember, we got a bark pack, we got a novice tool belt, very, very useful, and we started some basic artificing here, which you should definitely get into. And from here, you should be able to figure things out by yourself. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Hope it's been useful for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.